What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be talking about Glocks. Now here's the thing, if you watch this channel over here, I often critique Glocks. I always talk about things I don't like about them, things I do like about them, why I carry them, but at the same time I still talk down on the areas that need to be talked down on. But here's the difference, in the comments you don't hear anyone saying, oh how dare you, that's wrong, they're above critique. You just don't hear that. When I make a couple videos saying I had major, not just little malfunctions, or I should say one of my SIGs had major malfunctions. Locking back, halfway, out of battery, cannot go forward, round in the chamber, sent off to a gunsmith. That is not a tap and rack situation. That is not something that's a magazine issue, or bad ammo, or finicky ammo, or I didn't clean my Glock for the last 4,000 rounds. That's a real deal. If I'm in a self-defense encounter, I am done with. And that's all I said. I like the way P365 shoots. I like the way it handles. I like the way it carries. I like a lot of stuff about it. But I will never leave my front door with a handgun on my waist. It's just that simple. But anyways, let's get into my number one, or I should say my list of critiques for Glocks, because it is a big list at this point. And you know where I'm going to start. With the Glock 26s, the Glock 27s, there is no rail. The Glock 33, the Glock 28, the Glock 39. It is not difficult to add a rail. They could have done it. They should have done it. It's not on the Gen 3s. Okay, fine. Gen 4s come out. Okay, you know, getting irritated, but fine. Gen 5s. Are you serious? Gen 5s, especially with the release of the MOS. Think about it. The 43X and 48 came out originally. No rail. Not optics ready. So, they released the Glock 26 and 27 Gen 5 MOS. It was optics ready, but no rail. That is a major miss. The number one complaint I get about the Glock 26 and 27, other than it's too fat or outdated, is that it doesn't have a rail, and that is what people want. Even though you don't need to carry with a light, I'm just being real, carry with a handheld, and on top of that, in order to use your light on your flashlight, you have to be flailing around a handgun in order to see it. So you're flagging potential innocence, which, you know, we can get into in a whole nother topic. And I just don't leave the house at night. I have no reason. I have kids and a wife. Rather be at home with my family. But other than that, they're great shooting handguns, even without the rail, right? But that is the number one complaint, and Glock knew what they were doing. There's gotta be a reason behind it, because how do you? Oh, it drives me insane. It's ridiculous. So, and you know, R.I.P. to Gaston Glock. You know, obviously these handguns are iconic. They're genius, and I don't care what anyone says. They stack up against any other pistol of all time. It's just that simple. But another thing they really struggle with is texturing. Once again, Gen 3s come out. Fine, the texturing's not that great. Gen 4s, you did a little backstrap thing. Fine, we'll accept that. Gen 5s, you couldn't have thrown some texturing on there. Like, really, this doesn't even grip to anything. I don't even know why you put it. And then these, you know, I've had a lot of handguns, like the Stogers. They had these little, like, pyramids and little spike things. They work great. The Glock 26, if you didn't have finger grooves there, it would just... It just wouldn't be. There is no traction. There's nothing. That's why you see my Glocks with a bunch of grips on them and stuff, right? On my 29. Notice Gen 3 has a rail. Gen 3 does not. Look at the... Don't tell me it has anything to do with width or anything like that. This handgun should have had a rail. But texturing, once again, garbage. Absolute garbage, right? Trash. The next complaint I'm going to have is something you're going to see on all these handguns. Notice something about all of them that they all have in common. Every single sight that came on the handgun is long gone. And actually, here's a little... I'll plug you guys in real quick. If you do the same, go to eBay, list all your old Glock sights. I had someone who bought 8 pairs off me for like $100 of all polymer crap sights. And that is if you get them off without destroying that rear sight. I've destroyed so many rear sights. I actually dropped the Glock 19, destroyed that rear sight. I mean, they're the worst sights you could possibly put on a pistol. I mean, look at the Ruger Max 9. That's what I always talk about. The Max 9 comes with a fiber optic tritium front sight that is metal with a rear textured blackout rear. Why? Just, you know what I mean? Like, offer it. Give us the Glock 26 with night sights or without. Give us the option. Not a lot of people want to spend the money to get a sight pusher and all this stuff and make it line up perfectly. A lot of people just want it like every other manufacturer does from the factory. If you can't, Anyone who says Glock sights are fine, I agree. I can shoot with it too. But give us night sights. And one of my favorite night sight pictures I've ever had, actually, it's actually pretty interesting. You guys would probably like it. The rear sight, it was the same. It was made by Glock. Same exact Glock sights, right? But they were all night sights, right? So a picture, you know, the bracket, and they were metal. The bracket with the front dot that's tritium, all night sights. I actually had a pair, and I gave them away to a subscriber. They were awesome, awesome night sights to have, and Glock does not make them anymore. They make the 3-dot tritium sights. So, unfortunately, this is sort of what you're stuck with. Next up, I'm going to say is the trigger. Even though I shoot Glocks, great. I shoot them amazing. I even shoot this little pocket pistol over here the best. And what I always tell people is the Glock 42, 43, 43X, and 48 all have the best triggers out of any Glocks. It just is a fact. I'm not sure why it is. Then I'm going to say it's going to be the thick boys, right? The 29s and the 30s and the 20s and stuff like that. Then it's the most common Glocks at the 19s, the 17s, and the 26s. But now, with the Gen 5s, right, still being released with their new, Gen 5 trigger, right, which is really no different than any other Glock trigger, except for the ones I talked about. But Glock sells their own performance trigger. It's still an OEM part. It's still considered OEM. It's just a drop-in trigger, nothing different. They're like $88 to $100. Sell us a model with one. Make all your models with them. We don't care. Give us that nice flat face trigger, still with a dingus, SIG, take that in. But give us that trigger pull that thing has. And I know it's, there's different weights and stuff for law enforcement, but the civilian trigger pull on that Glock performance trigger is the greatest defensive trigger out there. It's still got weight to it, so it's not too light. It's not the shortest thing in the world, so you're not going to have any problems under adrenaline. It is just the perfect defensive trigger, and that's the performance trigger from Glock, not this trigger in the Gen 5s. They should be offering it in the Gen 5s because I believe it's only made for the Gen 5s unless you alter it a little bit. But give us that trigger. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? Oh yeah, there's one of the sights. Front sight swapped out, but I also don't use the 45 very much. But just imagine that in a night sight. Unbelievable. And I had it. I don't get it. But other than that, throw all that stuff out the window. Do these handguns function? Yes, they do. Do they have magazine and part compatibility? Yes, they do. Aftermarket support? Yes, they do. Holsters? Yes, they do. Already been tested in the civilian population? Yes. The P365s and the P320s. Those are basically passed out, and they said, okay, we're going to test them on you. My Glock 26s have been tested in the civilian population now for 30 years. Law enforcement for 30 years. They don't have issues. They just go bang. Glocks aren't meant to be the shiniest, nicest looking firearms in the world. They're not. They're not supposed to be the prettiest, the best looking, or even the fastest, the best trigger, whatever the case may be. They're just meant to be workhorses with a system that runs. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm trusting my life with. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.